With record-breaking album sales and chart performance to her name, you might think this female rap phenom's life has been nothing but blessed. Her childhood, however, was truly scary, and her young adult life was also marred by pain and heartbreak. This is the tragic real-life story of Nicki Minaj. When she was just 5 years old, Nicki Minaj left her native Trinidad to move to the US, but the American dream she had built up in her mind was far from the reality awaiting her. First, she was left in Trinidad to be raised by her grandmother. As Minaj explained in her 2010 MTV News documentary, Nicki Minaj, My Time Now, it's typical for people from the islands to send for their children once they've established themselves in the United States, though it took longer than she expected. I thought it was going to be for a few days. It turned into 2 years without my mother. Once she finally did join her parents, she was in for another harsh surprise, admitting, I thought it was going to be like a castle, like white picket fence, like a fairy tale. Instead, she arrived at a home far from her expectations. Her first impression of New York also shook her. I remember the smell. I could always remember the smell when I got out of the airport of the snow, and I had never seen snow. When she arrived, Minaj was in for another blow, as she found her parents fighting like never before, telling fans in her documentary, I was always very nervous, very afraid. My father would yell and curse a lot. Minaj also alleged that her father was physically abusive, and though they didn't know it at the time, got addicted to crack soon after arriving in the States. Years later, in her Queen documentary, the rapper recalled trying to protect her mother, standing in front of her mother with her arms spread wide. Speaking with Rolling Stone in 2010, Minaj revealed she turned to her faith for solace. When I first came to America, I would go in my room and kneel down at the foot of my bed and pray that God would make me rich so that I could take care of my mother, because I always felt like if I took care of my mother wouldn't have to stay with my father. As Robert Mirage's addiction to drugs and alcohol took over, he became increasingly abusive. Minaj's mother Carol described how frightening the situation got, telling The Sun in 2014 that Robert once set their home on fire while she was inside.
My house was gone. The house was gone. All of my toys, all my clothes, all of my memories.
Carol described that she wasn't the only victim. The whole family suffered. My husband used to get high on cocaine and alcohol and would come home and terrorize the whole family. He was so violent. He would threaten us and keep us up all night. Opening up about her childhood to Rolling Stone in 2010, Minaj revealed, I remember there being a lot of arguing, lots of screaming. There were holes punched into the walls in anger, and cops being called to the house all the time. Minaj lived in constant fear for her mother's safety, having nightmares about it. Minaj also accused her father of being a thief, telling Vibe, I thought we would just be happy, but with a drug-addicted parent, there is no such thing as being happy. When you have a father who is stealing your furniture and selling it so that he can buy crack, you suffer. Things got so bad that Nicki Minaj actually thought about turning violent on her father. As she confessed in a 2012 interview with Nightline, I wished he was dead. Explaining what drove her to have such dark thoughts, she added,
We were afraid for her life because whenever he would have a real bad outburst, he would threaten to kill her.
Amazingly, Minaj is said to have forgiven her father, who had talked about his years of sobriety on Nightline. There are two sides to every story, however, and according to family sources who spoke with TMZ, Robert wasn't aware that his daughter felt that way. While he conceded to having issues, her statement allegedly impacted him greatly. What's more, the insiders went as far as to tell TMZ that the Anaconda singer was exaggerating, and that things were never as bad as she made them out to be. As Nicki Minaj grew up, so did her problems. Things weren't getting any better at home, and while she was still in high school, her own personal life began causing her grief. Speaking with Rolling Stone in 2014, Minaj opened up about the pregnancy she decided not to go through with as a teen, referencing one particular line from a track off the Pinkprint called All Things Go, in which she raps, My child with Aaron would have been 16 any minute. She was dating an older guy at the time, but was still a child herself, and as she recalled, it was the hardest thing I'd ever gone through. Despite revealing that the difficult decision has stayed with her through it all, the rapper knows it was the right thing to do, telling the magazine, I wasn't ready. I didn't have anything to offer a child. As Rolling Stone pointed out, All Things Go wasn't the MC's first time opening up about the experience. She initially did so on a mixtape track called Autobiography, but wasn't expecting many people to hear it because she was still an unknown. The second time around, people certainly did. Given her parents' relationship and her own experiences, it's no surprise Nicki Minaj's outlook on love was tainted, thinking that fighting and arguing was part of marriage. She tweeted about this in 2019. "I really used to think love had to hurt. It's not easy to leave, especially in the world of IG where all people want to do is post relationship goal pics for clout and attention. A man should make you feel safe, not afraid." Minaj then alluded to her own toxic past, writing, "I remember being so afraid to speak because I never knew when that person would be in a particular mood and I could maybe say one wrong thing that would get me hit." Although she never named names, she also opened up about the abusive relationship in her Queen documentary, confessing to her fans, "I let one human being make me so low that I didn't even remember who I was. I was scared to get in the studio, I didn't believe in myself." Minaj credits learning to love herself with setting her free, concluding, "If you wouldn't let a man treat your mother, your sister, or best friend like that because you love them, then you wouldn't let a man treat you like that because you love you."
I always tell my barbs, I'm like, always be successful outside of a man.
Nicki Minaj and Meek Mill called it quits in late 2016 or early 2017, but as of February 2020, their post-breakup feud was still going strong. In fact, it reached a new level when Minaj accused him of being abusive. According to The Shade Room, Minaj was ticked off by Mill liking a meme that made fun of her husband Kenneth Petty's outfit, so she took to social media to slam her ex before firing off a serious accusation in her Instagram story that he beat women. Mill almost instantly responded, tweeting, "The only way you can try to kill my career is to say I beat women." Mill's tweet then went on to reference Nicki's brother, Jelani Mirage, who, according to Page 6, was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison for sexual assault. Minaj wasn't having it, and fired back moments later with additional accusations, writing, "You beat your own sister and taped it, kicked me in front of your mother and sent her to the hospital." Getting the final word in, Mill concluded, "For clarification, I don't hit women." In October 2019, Nicki Minaj said "I do" to her high school sweetheart, Kenneth Petty, but their seemingly sweet love story has been tainted by Petty's criminal past. While Minaj seems absolutely smitten, critics have been relentless in digging up dirt on Petty. As TMZ reported in 2018, Petty spent nearly 4 years behind bars after being convicted of first-degree attempted rape in April 1995. To this day, New York State lists him as a Level 2 registered sex offender, and his criminal streak didn't end there. Petty returned to jail for 7 more years after being convicted of first-degree manslaughter and was released in 2013. Rather than enjoying her relationship, Minaj has repeatedly had to defend her beau. In December 2018, she clapped back on Instagram addressing Petty's first arrest, writing, "He was 15, she was 16, in a relationship, but go off internet, y'all can't run my life. Y'all can't even run y'all own life." In 2019, she shut down accusations that Petty was a gold digger in a tirade on Queen Radio. She slammed those who held that view, saying, "How do you not understand happiness versus clout?" Despite everything she's gone through, Nicki Minaj has come out on the other side as a strong, successful woman who has been shaped by her negative experiences in a positive way. As her mom told The Sun, watching her own toxic relationship with Minaj's father, "It helped Minaj learn not to relive my life. She became strong and very conscious of dominant and obsessive men. That helped her become the truly fierce person she is today." Minaj shared the same sentiment in her Queen documentary, telling fans that while some may see her as abrasive, what they're really seeing is her strength. "It's because I vowed from that age no man would ever abuse me, call me out my name, treat me like that." In addition to her home life, the borough she grew up in also helped shape her. In 2012, she told The Fader, "I grew up in Southside Jamaica, Queens. I am Southside Jamaica, Queens. That love is mutual."
Stay in school! Stay in school! You hear me? No, thank you, baby. Bye. I love you.
In 2017, Minaj was presented with a key to the city. Not bad for a young girl from Trinidad who arrived in the States with not much more than a dream. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Nicki Swift videos about your favorite celebs are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.